She is running two NGOs, Navajyoti and India Vision Foundation, that reaches out to marginalized sections of the society in the field of education, skill development, urban and rural areas, as well as for the prisons. She is an academic and has been a visiting faculty with ICLIF, a leadership training institute in Malaysia. As of now, she has following of more than 12 million followers on social media. Her Twitter handle is @the Kiran Bedi. She assumed the office of Lt. Governor of Puducherry on May 29, 2016. I think Dr. Bedi has been joining with us. Madam, are you with us, please?
Switch on. Yes, I am.
Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you. Welcome, madam. Thank you very much.
Very nice.
So, thank you, madam, for being with us today. And now I request all of you to kindly rise for National Anthem. Thank you very much.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Respected Madam, Jaipuria Group is one of the most respected and dedicated business groups in India. Ever since its inception in 1942, it has become a benchmark for the latest innovations in technology and efficient management, as well as its philanthropic activities. Education has been a passion for the group. Our commitment to greater good through modern yet rooted education finds wings in K-12 education, with the Seth M.R. Jaipuria schools started way back in 1962. With the first school in Lucknow, in 2 decades, it has grown to 26 schools and is reckoned as a school of excellence for quality education. In the higher education arena, Jaipuria has got 4 management schools. One at Lucknow, the oldest one, second Noida, third Jaipur, and fourth Indore. Each of these campuses have earned distinction as seats of cutting-edge knowledge, shaping and nurturing and redefining management for today and tomorrow. The vision of the institute is to be an educational institution of choice for all stakeholders, which promotes human well-being through continuous learning. The group is led by our esteemed chairman, Sri Sarat Jaipuria, and vice chairman, Sri Srivas Jaipuria. Today's session would be moderated by our vice chairman, Sri Srivas Jaipuria. May I request Sri Srivas Jaipuria ji to welcome you and start the proceedings of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. Madam Lieutenant Governor, it is indeed a great privilege to have you with us today. As we face the difficult times of a pandemic, a once-in-a-century pandemic across the world, we eagerly look forward to your inspirational life story and the lessons from it on facing difficult situations, breaking barriers, and leading change, which you have done throughout your life. With that, I humbly invite you to address us on the topic of the leadership credo pre and post-COVID.
The Jaipuria family, thank you for inviting me. I've known your family for many years. I've attended to some of your schools also, and they were one of the finest schools I attended. I think I attended one in Lucknow.
Lucknow, yes, ma'am, you were there.
Yeah, and I remember the shawl which your principal gifted me was one of the finest I still have. I have
Glad to hear it.
very fond memories of my visits to your schools. So I am quite aware of the illustrious family you belong to. I've interacted with some of them while I was serving in Delhi at work. Thank you so much, Dr. Pandey, for inviting me for a very prestigious, towards a very prestigious learning institution, which is made its mark undoubtedly, and I'm quite aware of that. I also look forward to connecting with your postgraduate management students from first and final year, as you said, and the faculty from streams across. I also want to thank my colleague here, Asha Gupta, who is the Comptroller Rajnivas. She's leading and supporting me on technological connectivity, because as you know, the kind of time this needs also prior coordination. So I want to begin by thanking her as well. And by the way, Asha belongs to Jaipur or Jaipur. She's a Pakkai Rajasthani here and with us here. So, and she's a very big asset to our Rajnivas team. As regards COVID is concerned, the thinking I have, these are my absolute thinking, it's not based on what Harvard says or what MIT says. I'm looking at totally my own Indian conditions, how I've also lived pre-COVID, during COVID, and waiting to have post-COVID. And what are the management, speaking from my managerial experiences point of view, since the kind of experience I have at the moment. Number one, I think my first lesson to be shared with our youngsters, whom you mentioned that I would be speaking to, is that I think we as youngsters never realize, till COVID made us realize, how important our bodies are, human body is. We take it for granted when we are young. And since I'm addressing mostly the young generation, we take it for granted. COVID has made us realize that those of us who are doing well, surviving well, coping well, almost helping others do well, are those who respected who they were as a human body when they were young. So I think first lesson of COVID is health is wealth. We start thinking when we are young that wealth is everything. Wealth is everything. Health is taken for granted because you got the energy. You're young. You're bright. You got all the good health, as it said. But we burn it out. We burn it out mentally and physically. Spiritually, some of us may agree, we may not. Some of us who do also go spiritually. So I think my first lesson of COVID to my youngster colleagues is, so look, this is not MIT based, though I'm a regular Harvard reader. I read management journals, etc. They say all kinds of things. I don't want to take you to those which I've been reading. I am being absolutely practical in what I'd like to say, which is very mundane, which is off the cuff, but something which is taken for granted, or the world from the ordinary. It's not hyphenda theoretical, but it is practical. Now, who is surviving in COVID today is people who do not have comorbidity and they do not get affected. Anybody with a comorbidity, some of them 30-year-olds, they didn't even know they were diabetic. They didn't know they were diabetic because they were not realizing what they were eating or what was happening. Look, there is something called genetic also. Sometimes we inherit something from our genes. We inherit from our parents, but sometimes we call for it. We invite it. So my first message to my young students is value health first. Wealth will follow. But if you take your body for granted and don't treat it as a temple, as a human temple, I think the first thing is make your bodies work, live and look after it as a temple into which your soul resides, or your conscience resides, or your mind resides. Because the bodies remain, something goes away when we go, when we pass away, when we lived our lives. whenever we do choose to live. Something goes away, the body remains, which is something called the life which is gone with it, from within. So there is life which is living within this temple called the human body. So my first lesson, therefore, is please do not take your bodies for granted. Because if you take it for granted, you will smoke it away, you'll drink it away, you'll eat it away, you will abuse it away as you want. You can even abuse it. After all, HIV/AIDS doesn't come, it's not born with it. None of us are born with those HIV/AIDS. We get it somehow. So I would say this is the age to be healthy. I think first message COVID is telling us is that what survives is good health. Wealth follows. Wealth is needed to maintain health, but if you don't have health, your wealth will remain in the banks and you may have to dedicate it as a trust for some other causes. And you won't even know, without even writing your will, we may disappear. My second, and the health is not just physical, it's also mental. It's spiritual, as I told you, but it's also mental. We give ourselves all kinds of stress, anxieties, pressures, worries, all kinds. We don't know how to deal with the mind. So, and we think reading the Gita or going to a spiritual place to listen to something wise is for the old, is for the retired. We don't think that mind is something which is part residing within your temple of the body. And unless you nourish your mind, you delete this rubbish out of your mind, you cleanse the mind of the cookies which we have in the technology language. We don't clear it of all the viruses, this mind will pollute the same body, which you may keep it very clean, wearing very nice clothes, very lovely dry cleaned suit, very well tailored, but the mind is full of rubbish, anxieties, worries, concerns, and also negativity, and also thoughts of all kinds of, let's say, all kinds of negative thoughts. I don't want to use the word evil. So, see, I have learned as an administrator, seen myself, people of all shades in my career, as a police officer and now as an administrator. I meet the good, the bad, and the ugly. I meet across ages. And I've seen those people who survive well in life, COVID or no COVID, are those who actually nurtured themselves properly, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So this is the first art of management. You see, management is not books only. Management is not only running your company and corporates. Management begins with you. And research is now establishing that it's a person who goes to the work, and it's the work as a person comes home. There is no division. And if somebody thinks that I can be the way I am at home, take my parents for granted, take my families for granted, but be very decent, very civil, very honest, very humane, whatever you call at work, I think you're cheating yourself. Because one day or the other, you get exposed. So you are who you are at work and at home. So therefore, mind, body, soul is very, very important. You are a good person at home, a good, helpful human being, a decent, well-behaved, civilized, well-mannered, caring, etc., also at home and also at work. And if you are like this at home, you will bound to be, you cannot change at work. You will be the same. But if you think that I can be different at home, but I can be different at work, then I think you're mistaken. One day that will blow back on you. COVID challenges like COVID expose you. So here's my first rule. I have written 5 rules, and I'm giving you my first rule of COVID leadership and management. Now, what do we do post-COVID? I'll talk to you about. So second is wealth is created. Wealth, now let's come, since I've been talking about health as well. Now wealth is created. Again, you youngsters blow it up. We blow it up thinking that we have enough. We blow up others' wealth. We blow up our parents' wealth. Or we borrow heavily. We are not careful with our wealth. We don't start a habit of saving, investing properly. So I think that's another. When we overspend or we waste it around, Like the other day in COVID, I was hearing, do you know yesterday what made the Prime Minister address the nation? It was the way bars were overcrowded in Goa. Why did Prime Minister take to national message yesterday? It was all over. It was because the India Today, as a television, had captured Goa where the bars were full. You mean to say it had veterans there? They're all youngsters, all young men. I didn't see many women, but all young men, and without any mask, without any social distance. And when it is being said, be careful with what you do. So they are blowing up their time, they're blowing up their money, and obviously they're blowing up their money, as I said. So wealth is also to be spent correctly. It's to be having saving habits when you're early, having investment habits early, and not at all gambling it away. So wealth, this management schools, which you are grooming them all, I'm looking at personal management first. It's your good personal management habits which take you to professional habits. Because if you're not wasting here, you won't waste government money. You will treat everything as a trust, business as a trust, resources which are given to you whether in the private sector or the government as a trust, because you've learned not to waste money. That's the habit I got. And for me, every penny spent in the government is evaluated. I don't say, ये तो सरकार का पैसा है तो मेरा क्या जाता है? अरे मेरा क्या जाता है? ये मेरी जिम्मेवारी है. पैसा खर्चना. That's why Puducherry is now doing everything direct transfer. Money is not going to the hands of vested interests. Money goes DBT, direct transfer. And for that, I had to go to the courts to get these decisions validated by the Supreme Court of India or High Court, because certain politicians here in Puducherry wanted transactions by cash. And I said, no. When the Government of India policies DBT, direct bank transfer, I shall. They said, no, it's state policies to do cash transaction. I said, no, it's Government of India policies now to DBT. Why? Because I'm very, very conscientious about every penny of the government. I want every penny of the government to go to people directly into their bank accounts. And we've given more than 700 crores, which has gone to the people of Puducherry directly without a loss of a penny. Now, this habit of me taking on this issue was out of conscientiousness, which I also developed as a student. My third thing is, when wealth is created, how do you share it with right habits? Do you share? Because you have sisters, you've got family, you've got friends. Do you learn to share wealth? I talked about investing, because all of you are students of management, you will generate wealth. And your wealth will not only be in money term, but in kind, your qualities, your habits. This is a wealth. You're a wealthy generation, wealthy in time, wealthy in energy, wealthy in habits. So how are you sharing your habits is extremely part of learning in management. My fourth thing is learning the right skills. You see, I'm not on your academics right now, because books are going to train you and teach you. But this is your own, by your own effort. And you're not going to be judged. Your work will expose you on these habits. Exam may not test you, but your life will test you. How you lead your life with your family and your friends. So are you learning the right skills while you're growing up? Right skills of lifestyles, life skills of eating, life type of time management, right life skills of watching, right life skills of networking, all kinds of. Today, one of the most viewed things on the internet is pornography. Who's doing this pornography? Is it illiterate young boys somewhere outside or girls outside? No. It's all those who've been schooled, who've been colleged, who probably even gone to professional colleges, who are abusing these positions. So right skills. So first thing any management school has to do is personal management. Learn to be a better human being. Learn to be a mature human being. Learn to be a wise young man or a woman and wise shoulders. Make your shoulders wiser while you're young in age. My fifth again thing is how do you deal with your family? What kind of a family person are you? What kind of a son and a daughter are you? What kind of a brother, sister are you? Because this is the kind of friend you will be. If you are a trustworthy son, you're a trusting, personally disciplined, right? You are a helpful friend or a helpful, you will be helpful even as a corporate leader. You will be all that which the Jaipurias are standing for, that they created wealth, they earned wealth, and they're investing it back into society. So have you learned to give? That's what I'm saying, is how do you come across with the family? Last but not the least is your creative skills. Now, in the creative skills is your corporate world. Because in COVID time, what it's taught us is that those of us who learn to read, to what I'm looking at is unlearn, because some of us have lost jobs. Some of us, now we are all on research. We are on just virtual learning. So are we having a regular classroom? Yes. Are we having physically? No. So that means you are left with time. How do you manage from home? How organized are you at home? Have you created space to read and write? Have you created a timetable for yourself? All this is COVID times where working from home, researching from home. Have you researched through Wikipedia? Have you researched through YouTubes? Have you researched through journals which are available? Have you read the podcasts which you didn't have time? Have you read the articles which you could have read? Discourses? The amount of time you have today during COVID time. Now it's during, not COVID time. Now it's a transition time, but you're still halfway through. You are in a twilight zone. You are going and yet not going. Classes are half and not full. Classes are saying selective, not come for guidance, don't come as a full class. You're attending seminars, but they're limited to few numbers. So you are in the transition time. That means you are left to yourself to unlearn, relearn, reassess, research more, study the way government policies are changing, because it's changing. That's why so many more doses are coming, tranches of support. Policies are changing, the way the RBI is dealing, the way the market is working, the way the industry is developing, so reading these kinds of is researching, retraining, relearning, willing to take small risks, and economic news which are coming on startups and other creativity, and Bharat's not Swachh Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now in Atmanirbhar Bharat, what kind of research are you doing? What kind of startup are you planning? What kind of companies are you thinking of? What is the solutions you're looking for? Because now is the time to almost find, like for instance, we had no laboratories for COVID tests. We are full of them. Earlier, we were not even manufacturing this PPE equipments and even masks, etc. We got enough of them. Now with the vaccine coming in, there's going to be ancillary industry along with this vaccine. What are we creatively thinking as solutions? So what I would think, I've gone into a little off track for myself, but other things which I would be happy to share on COVID times is, number one, take nothing for granted. COVID teaches you, don't take anything for granted, because you never know tomorrow what happens. Even if you've done all these, what I've done, the right things which I showed you, do not take things for granted. You are now into e-work and we work, not me work. Now you're into collaborations. So the more you collaborate, the more cooperative you are, the times of silos is gone almost. COVID has taught us how can we be not me, but we. And how can we be from e-work to we work? So that means it's virtual coming together of during this. These are things which have been compelled. I think we fast forwarded our IT skills and IT usage by literally 5 years or more. This is what COVID has forced us to. Reducing our dependencies are another. Like for instance, many men have learned to cook during this time. Many men have learned to be supportive at home. Many men have learned to help their spouses at home. Many of you have had more time to teach your children. You've learned that. I think that's a habit which we never had acquired, but now some of them are enjoying doing this, which is, I think, it's a bonus of this time. So it's time to be not competitive, but it's time to be collaborative more and more. And the startups, etc. I'm not looking for jobs, but creating jobs and creating solutions so that you are become more self-dependent, more self-reliant for any challenges in life. And last but not the least is, I think it's time to understand empathy. Empathy. If you are into a long race and you would like to be making a name as a corporate leader, then it has to be less of I and more of them and we and my people or our people. I think if you're looking for a longer brand value, a brand to last more, then it is about our people, we the people, our people. Now I have 2 NGOs. One of them is 30 years old. I don't have very big corpuses, but 2 NGOs which are dealing with the poorest of the poor. And also the teachers who are running those classes for my marginalized sections to teach them. So there are teachers who the whole family lives on that salary. And then they also educate those children whom we wouldn't, they would drop out and get dropped out. 2 NGOs. I don't have big corpuses because our work has come through the hard way of support. But my NGOs did not lay off anybody. We did not lay off anybody. We continued with them. And we found our own ways of reinventing ourselves. And can you believe it? With God's grace, some donors went away, but new donors came. Fresh donors came. Just because I do not know where it came from. But what I'm saying, as an NGO, our purpose was to remain concerned about those people who we had worked in normal times and shared those joys. And jab takleef aayi to ye nahi kab tum bhi jao, maine mere liye bacha. We last, you first. So I think it's very, very important to learn these habits now as youngsters, as students. So associate yourself with some corporate good giving, some internship, some social work. It's very good, very important that as business, while you are working in management, is to go into community management, whether it's a rural area, whether it's a cause of water, whether it's a cause of health, whether it's a cause of senior citizens, whether it's a cause of the deserving children, whoever. It's a social cause. And as you know, in the corporate world, there's a corporate social responsibility as a law. But besides that's a law. I'm not talking of the law. I'm talking of inner law, an inner sense of empathy. If you acquire this as students, whatever work you do, you will all achieve. Coming from such institutions, the learning institutions, you're bound to make a success. There's no doubt about it. You will make a success, provided you have these priorities intact, which I told you about, these 5-6 things I told you. If I would do a little wrap up for you, was this. Number 1, don't take health for granted. Build it, work towards it. Treat health as the real wealth. Number 2, create wealth, but learn to invest well and share. These I'm just summing up for you. Third is having the right habits of using your wealth and giving and sharing, as I said. Then right skills learned while you're growing up, while going to classes and doing MBA degrees. Then cultivate the right kind of friends, right kind of networking, right kind of forums where you could also learn and contribute. Then creative skills, learning now, problem solving skills. That's called life skills while you're at work. So you're not just an MBA, you're also very personally skilled, and that's what is going to count you. That's what we call soft skills. I'm saying real life skills. And then post-COVID and during this time, reassess your likes and dislikes. What are you happy at? Life is you're learning all this to be joyful at work. If you're not happy and joyful at whatever you're doing, rethink, rework, go in for more and more. Go small, doesn't matter. Roll up your sleeves and go in for your own startup if you want to be Atmanirbhar. Because in your Atmanirbharta is also national Atmanirbhar. I thought I would do this as a sum up for you. Rest is, you're already being trained by the institutions. I don't need to teach you on that because you are already at it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspirational address. Very practical life lessons from your own life. If you allow us, we can spend the about next 10 minutes for some questions.
Please do.
So, ma'am, I think the first question, the first thing you talked about was health, and this COVID pandemic has really brought focus on our own health. Many people are not able to give time to health because they feel simply they don't have time. But when we see many national leaders, we see the Prime Minister Narendra Modi or the ex-president of the U.S. Barack Obama, they actually spend time on their health. So, could you share your personal story, being an IPS officer, now being Lieutenant Governor? How do you give time to your own health? And how should students or even youngsters who believe we are too busy simply take out time for our health, and how should we make this a priority?
Nature has its own ways. You cheat sleep, you will feel drowsy sometime of the day, and you will drop the energy level. You can't cheat sleep, so you can't cheat health. So otherwise, if you burn out yourself, then you will need many days as a paid rest. You will then pay for the rest, and you will pay the doctors and then you'll be deprived of your homes because you'll now be on paid rest, paid recovery. So I would say my personal story is I start my day with at least 2 hours of personal health, 2 hours. And these 2 hours are minimal. It has an hour of yoga and it is an hour of reading. So it's yoga and reading. Now that's mind, body, soul, all two. And that's the early hours of the morning, because morning hours where the birds are chirping, the trees are green, the air is clean, and you're fresh in your mind. It's getting up at a proper time and doing yoga. And yoga, the asanas which are helpful to me. I don't follow a book. I follow what my body needs. Like, for instance, my shoulders need more flexibility. I'll focus more on yoga, shoulder asanas. I need stronger stomach muscles. I will do those asanas which are good for my stomach muscles. See, and I want my knees to be lubricated well. I will focus a lot on my knees. So it all depends. But in the end, from mind, body, totality, the whole body becomes energized. Now, during that 1 hour, I shut my eyes and I'm just with that yoga. Look, what a nutrition I've got for the whole day. After that, I get into reading. I read all the newspapers because I need to be updated in what's the news and the interpretation, the headlines. I read about 4 newspapers, including Economic Times, which is my favorite. Times of India is my favorite. I read the Hindu, which comes from this side, and I read the Indian Express. I read these major national dailies, which come this side. Hindustan Times doesn't come here, so I don't read it. Otherwise, had I been in Delhi, I would have also read HT. But I go straight to their editorials, and I see within the editorials, what are they conveying, what are the views coming in, and I then read them. I read the spiritual columns also of the newspapers, and then I mark them, and I also preserve them in my library to refer back to them. I have a whole library of my articles, and I have a very large documentation, a library habit which I had from the very student times. I've maintained it till now. So these 2 hours are a habit. I cannot do without them. God's grace, there's no Sunday in this. If you ask me, oh ma'am, you must be taking off on Sunday. No, because if I have to enjoy my lunch, and if I have to enjoy my dinner, then I have to earn my morning. And if I do by one chance, I skip this, do you know what? I skip my dinner because I've not earned it. And with the result that I've been able to maintain my body weight, I can still go back to the uniform I was in 1972 when I started the police service. So the point here is, because I like it this way. But remember, even when you're doing this, you've got to be still lucky, because this is called God's grace. Good health comes with grace. While you do the right thinking, reading, right eating, right sleeping, right scheduling, and then doing your job. Do you enjoy your work? Because see, I've added joy in the morning. I've already added joy in the morning. Why would I be sad the rest of the day? Then I deal with COVID as it comes. I deal with difficult officers as they come. I deal with difficult politicians as they come. I deal with negative news as it comes, but it doesn't bother me because I've already generated enough energy to deal with it for the rest of the day. There's still some reserve left for the following day. So I keep adding to my reserves.
Thank you, ma'am. I think very important lessons from your answer there. One is that you have to actually enjoy looking after your health, and it'll give you dividends throughout your workday as well. And the second thing I really liked is when I asked you about health, you talked about physical health as well as mental health. With
Yes.
that, I want to go to a question from a student, Sakshi, who's saying that COVID-19 has turned into a mental illness as well. And presumably it's because all of us are missing meeting our friends, those encounters that we have in college dorms, in college hallways. We are spending a lot of screen time. We would have loved to be having this in person. And just because the world as it has become now, we are missing those moments of social interaction. So how do we deal with our own mental health during these times?
That only showed you had created dependencies. You were never a friend to yourself. You were all the time externally dependent. Friends is not dependence. Friends is a joy. And today's social networking is another way of staying networked. But you don't have to create these dependencies. You've got to be first learning to be happy within. As Sadhguru says, that if you're not happy within, then you are an enemy to yourself. Then you're in wrong company, as he says. If you are not happy within yourself, then you are in wrong company. Change your company means change your thoughts, rework yourself. So I agree that we are missing the hallways, we are missing the coffee shops, we are missing the shopping, we are shopping the malls, missing eating out. Well, number one, it's not going to last forever. But number two, I think the biggest lesson of COVID is learn to accept reality as it comes. Learn to cope with uncertainty as it comes. Because these are things which are not, a tomorrow tsunami comes, what will you do? A flood comes, what will we do? These are uncertain times with climate changes as well. So therefore policies change. So a death in the family, an accident, which comes, as I said in life, 100 things happen. If 100 things happen, remember 90 are your created, 10 are not your created. You have to be skilled to deal with those 10. COVID is one of those 10, which is not our created. What is within our capacities, how we respond to it. So therefore, at the moment, it's not screen time. It's reading time. It's learning time. It's upskilling time. It's sharing time at home and families. And also you have the chat programs. You have your friends there. And today things have opened up. With mask and social distance, you can connect with your friends. It's not a big deal. So I think it's the way you think. Again, that skill hasn't been grown with your management alongside. How do you self-manage? How do you give time to yourself and also be silent to yourself? If you would do what I do in the morning, then you are always in good company because you're with yourself. There's enough for you to read, write, relax, contribute, share, give, and work it out.
Thank you, ma'am. So it's about accepting the realities and trying to do the best we can in the current circumstances.
Yeah.
The last question I would like to ask, you spoke about empathy and the importance of empathy in personal as well as professional life. Being an IPS officer, many times the police is used as somebody who is strict, and many times in professional life also as management graduates, how does empathy and leadership go together?
When I took over the police, I became IGP jails many years ago, and I was IG Tihar jail. And I was asked, what is your job there? I said, it is not to be a guard, to be a guardian. I'm not there to keep security. I'm there to create security. And see, my whole pattern changed. When I went to Priya, I didn't go to keep security, create security. My colleagues in the past earlier always thought, koi bhag nahi jaye yahan se. Nobody should escape from the jail. That's my job. So I was people would keep everything on terror and fire in the air and roar and count and jungles and the chains and noise and clanks and the doors and the keys. I didn't do any of that. I start to walk my prison every morning to let the prisoners know I'm the one in charge, not you. I will look you into the eye to find humanity in you, to say, I'm here to care for you, so that there's a reason, so that you do not disturb security when you go out. You also remain safe. You don't commit crime again. That wasn't, did I lose leadership? It enhanced my leadership. So what did I do? Instead of being a guard, I became a guardian. And in the guardian is care, concern, provisioning, providing resources, creating resources. I had no money to educate them. Can you believe it? 10,000 prisoners all went to school inside the prison. Why? With borrowed books, donated books. Everybody went to prison with donated, used school books. 10,000 prisoners all in a classroom. Who were the teachers? Educated prisoners became the teachers. And I would go like headmaster around every morning to see. I'll give you one very interesting example. I used to check, they used to have an attendance sheet saying P. So 40 prisoners for class 1, illiterates had class 1. So they would write P. So one day when I saw in that there was P and they would like B. So I said, ye P to theek hai, present. What is B? They said, madam, ye bimar. So even bimar was mentioned here, who is not attending their class and is sleeping in the barrack. So what would I do when I would see this bimar? Then I would say, ye kahan hai? Bole, madam, barrack mein so raha hai. Achha. So I would go into the barrack to find out, kya hai tujhe? Madam, mera bukhar chal raha hai. Then I would see whether the doctor had taken care of him and whether he moved to the dispensary or the hospital. So ek to isse kya hua? Jhootha bimar koi nahi hua. Because they know I'll come and check them. I will meet them. But I didn't go to meet them as a police to see you. Jhootha, mere se jhoot to nahi bola. No, I'm caring for you. I don't want a sick prisoner. I want him to be looked after. So with the result, tell me, did I lose leadership or did my leadership enhance? My word was gospel for them. I could tell them what to do, what was good for them. I took away smoking from the prison only because of the goodwill. 10,000. It's the first prison which went no smoking zone in the world. 10,000 prisoners. Only because of goodwill earned. 1,000 prisoners went for meditation program of Vipassana in the prison. 1,000 prisoners sat without any guns. Vipassana meditation. 1,000 prisoners in one camp. And Shri Goenka ji came, SN Goenka ji. By the way, Jaipur prison was the first prison to hold the Vipassana meditation for prisoners. Mine was the second. But this was the largest prison in the prison history of the world, where 1,000 prisoners. What was it? Did I lose leadership? On the contrary, it enhanced. So when you have empathy with genuine intentions, it enhances leadership. To me, this is leadership. Otherwise, it would have been only a position. Now, leadership stands for another meaning called responsibility. I was fulfilling responsibility. And position was getting enhanced anyway.
Thank you, ma'am. I think though we have many, many questions, I cannot think of a better note on which, due to the paucity of time, we will have to thank you for the time spent with us. Your story of Tihar jail has taught us how empathy can lead to getting ownership of the situation, how that can lead to resourcefulness, and that can lead to true leadership. So I think through your own examples, we have learned a great deal that would serve us during this COVID period and post-COVID as well, as we all know that this is going to be a temporary phase. So I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and it has been a privilege having you here. I would request our IT team to show a green certificate, which we will be presenting to you. Even before COVID, ma'am, rather than giving a bouquet of flowers, which lead to the destruction of the plant, we have started giving green certificates, which lead to the upkeep of trees in the forests of India to all the guests that spend time with us. So thank you very much. And I hand over to Dr. Pandey for his official word of thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Srivastji. Respected madam, we are extremely grateful to you for your sparing valuable time for our students. We extend our sincere thanks to your staff of Puducherry Governor Office and the Lieutenant Governor Office, Vice Chairman Srivas Jaipuria, directors of various campuses, faculty members, senior officials, and staff members of Jaipuria Group. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.